Hello, in this presentation we will set up opening balances in our bookkeeping problem within Excel and keep in mind how it could be done within software like QuickBooks, comparing and contrasting the two. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. We will start off looking at how this could be set up in software like QuickBooks and then move to Excel and enter the data within Excel. If we were to enter opening balances, what we're talking about here is a business that has already been in process. However, we have not really started the formal books. We haven't put it into QuickBooks or we haven't put it into the Excel. And therefore we have opening balances already, and we need to find some way to put them into the system. Even if we don't know journal entries, for example, we could do that in software such as QuickBooks. QuickBooks giving us this idea of just saying, enter this account, for example, this being the checking account, click this button here and just put in whatever the opening balance is. In our case, the checking account balance, the cash account opening balance of $25,000. And QuickBooks will then just do the journal entry and make it work, meaning QuickBooks will have to do something to some other account in order to make that happen, but they simplify the process so that we can just input these beginning balance numbers. We're going to take a look at it in Excel and see what QuickBooks could be doing in order to make this work, in order to set up these beginning balances accounts, in order to have a double entry accounting system. To download Excel files to go along with the presentation, we can find them at this URL, which is accountinginstruction.info/excel-files/. We're back to our Excel worksheet. Remember last time we put in the inventory, we put in receivables, we put in the payables. Now we will be working with some other account balances, including the checking account, the Visa account, the loan payable, and furnitures and fixtures. We're not actually going to go through and enter these accounts. We have these accounts in the trial balance. If we did not have them, then we can go ahead and just enter these accounts, meaning we'd have to add a line. So if we didn't have an account and we wanted it, for example, between these two accounts, if it was an asset account, we would have to select these two cells, right click, and insert. That's one way we can do it. And then we want to make sure it's going to insert down. And then we can add the account. I'm going to undo that because we started with a more comprehensive chart of accounts. But I just want to show you another way we could do that. We can highlight this entire thing, for example. You just got to make sure that you're picking up all relevant data. And then basically just drag this whole thing down one. If I put my cursor right there so it looks like that, and drag it down one, then we go back up, and that's another way we can do it. We have to format the cell then. If we highlight this cell and then go to the File tab, the Home tab I should say, and hit that little paintbrush in the clipboard and select this item. That's how you can basically add accounts as you go. Now in this case we have pretty much all the accounts we need, so if we need to add an account, that's how we will do it. But we have the chart of accounts set up here. What we don't have are those beginning balances. So we need a checking account. We need a beginning balance there. So I'm going to highlight that and just say we need a beginning balance there. In the Visa account, we're going to say we have a beginning balance here. We need something in the Visa account. And the loan payable, that's a liability. We're going to put it in the long-term portion for now. So we have the loan payable long-term portion. We need something there. And then in the furniture and fixture, we're going to say that we need something there. These are items that we already have. So I'm just going to highlight these items and say we need to enter opening balances. I know there's an opening balance in the checking account. How would I know that, or where would I get that number? Perhaps from the bank statement. So we can look at the bank statement and get that number and put it into the checking account. And so we also know that there's furniture and fixture. We have furniture and fixture. We want to put that on the books. So we got to do that somehow. And then we have the Visa account here. We owe money on our Visa account on our credit card. So we can we need to increase or put that balance in place. And we have a loan payable with the bank that we somehow need to put there. We know we have it. We just need to put it on the books. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off similar to the way QuickBooks does this. And we'll just build one journal entry and just put in what we need to in order to make those numbers what they need to be. That, in essence, is what QuickBooks is doing, or any accounting software, when we start to enter this data. Then we're going to be left with the fact that we're not in balance, and we're going to say, what are we going to do with that difference that we need to put somewhere? So once again, we're going to start the date here is going to be January 1st, and we'll go through these accounts and see what we need to do to make them right in accordance with what we think we have already before we put this business together, or before we put this business information into our bookkeeping system. First thing we know we have the checking account, we know we have cash, and we checked the bank, we got $25,000. Now, the cash is an asset account. Like all asset accounts, have debit balances indicated by the fact they do not have brackets in this worksheet. Therefore, we're going to make it to go up by doing the same thing to it, which in this case is another debit. So we're going to debit it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to right click and copy, and I'm going to put that in B14. You could just type it in here, but once again, in order to avoid spelling problems, or at least reduce them greatly, we will copy and paste 1, 2, 3, just the values only. We want to put in the debit section, we're going to put the 25,000, no commas or anything needed, and that is that. Next item, furniture and fixture. We know we have furniture and fixture, we need to put it on the books. We should put it on the books net of depreciation, accumulated depreciation, or put the accumulated depreciation on the books as well. But we're just going to put the equipment on the books, the furniture and fixture, furniture and equipment. So we're just going to copy this item. This also being an asset, the asset needs to increase. So we're going to copy this item. We're going to put it in B15, right click, and paste it 1, 2, 3. Furniture and fixture, we're saying is 75,000 in furniture and fixture. So 75,000 and enter will be a debit. We're just building a journal entry, a little bit longer of a journal entry of here because we're just putting in all the opening balances that we haven't yet dealt with. And the next item we have Visa. That's a liability. It's in the orange section. Like all liabilities, it has a credit balance, which will be indicated by brackets on the trial balance. And we have a $1,000 liability. We need to increase it, therefore we're going to do the same thing to it, which in this case is a credit. So we're going to copy that in AJ14 by right-clicking and copy. We're going to put that in cell B16 by right-clicking and pasting 1, 2, 3. I'm going to indent that by going to the Home tab, Alignment Group, and Indent. If you can't do that because of the formatting, you can enter 3 spaces or an actuality. It doesn't really matter. You don't really have to do that, but it looks nice. So I'm going to put a negative 1,000. We are in the credit side, and we're going to put a negative to represent a credit. When we select enter, it will have brackets and a comma. Over here, note that we only have one column, not a debit and credit column, only representing the credits with the bracketed numbers. That really helps with formulas here, and it simplifies the worksheet so that we don't have as many columns. So keep that in mind. Note that that is how things are being represented here, whereas over here we have a debit and a credit side, and we are duplicating the fact that these are credits by having it both in the credit column and being bracketed or negative numbers. Then we have the next item here that we're going to need a balance in. That will be the long note payable. So we're going to copy that. It's going to be a loan payable, not the note payable. Same thing though. Copy that, Roger, and paste it in B17. Right click and paste it 1, 2, 3. Going to indent that as well. Going to the Home tab, Alignment, and increase the indentation. And that's going to be, we have a loan out on the books for 22,000. So I'm going to put a credit, negative 22,000. So there's our debits and credits. Now this is a long journal entry. If we were to add up the debits and I just highlight them, they add up to 100,000, and the credits, they add up to 23,000. So the difference is what we need on the credit side. In other words, if we summed up, you don't have to do this because I'm going to delete it in a second, but we sum up this side and we sum up this side, then we need something on the credit side of the difference. So all I did was this adds up to 100, this adds up to 23, 100 minus 23 is 77. We need a credit of 77 in order for our debits to equal the credits, meaning deleting that, we need a credit right there in order for the debits to equal the credits. Now, I have a formula here that I call the plug formula that'll just kind of calculate what we need. We know we need a credit because we're short on the credit side. If we sum everything up, it'll be the right number, but it'll be going the wrong way, meaning it'll end up as a positive or debited number, whereas we need a negative or credited number. Therefore, instead of just hitting the sum, we could say equals, well, let's do that first. If I say the sum of, and I can highlight all these cells. I can highlight from C, what is it, 14, down to C18. And a lot of people, when we first start thinking of adding things up, we think we can only add one column, but we can add a whole 2 columns here. So we can add everything within this box. So we're adding from the range of C14 colon or 2, D17, and that in essence will take the debits minus the credits, or in this case, the credits minus the debits, or no, debits minus the credits, gives us the 77,000. So that's what we need, but it's going the wrong way. If I highlight all of it, we're out of balance by the double of that 77,000 or 154. We need to make that negative. So to do that, we could just double click on it and put a negative in front of the sum and just have it basically be negative sum. In essence, we're telling the function to multiply it by -1, and that will give us a negative number. So that means that the debits add up to 100. The credits, if we highlight them, add up to 100. This nice little taskbar, if you can't see that too well, will add it up for us. It's very useful. And so we have that. If we add up the whole thing, this from cell C14 to cell D18, because the debits are positive and the credits are negative, will add up to 0. So that's going to be another just convenient way to format this information. Highly, highly recommend doing so. I'm going to just do that one more time, that formula. And this time, I'm just going to write it in there from scratch. Instead of hitting an equal sign, we're going to say negative, and then use our most famous formula, the sum function. And then we'll double click the sum function and sum up from C14 to D18. So we could close up those brackets, but we don't even need to. And there we have it. The only difference we did, now if I go back on here, you'll see that now it added the equal sign to the formula. We didn't put the equal sign there, it just added it in there. So you could just start the formula with a negative, sum it up, and that's the shortest way to do that formula. If you work with a lot of journal entries, very useful. If you work with anything that you have negative numbers or need to do that, it's very useful. So then we just need to know what this account will be. And like all of our prior journal entries, what we're in essence going to do is just dump this into the equity section. That's in essence what QuickBooks does, or accounting software, if you're just entering opening balances. If you're not entering a journal entry, it's just going to put it somewhere, either something called opening balance equity or some uncategorized account or something like that. We are going to put it to the equity. Same concept here being that if we get all the balance sheets correct, in essence, because assets minus liabilities equals equity, and we only have one owner, in this case as a sole proprietor, otherwise same concept would work, but we would just have to break the equity out into either multiple owners, if there was multiple owners, or between common stock and equity and retained earnings if it was a corporation. But same principle would apply no matter what type of entity, and that is that if we get the assets and liabilities correct, then we can kind of wash everything else out on the equity side, and we should be okay, and everything should work. That, in essence, is the concept used when we just enter one number into these accounts into QuickBooks. We're just going to put the other amount somewhere, and here it will be the owner's equity. So we're going to copy that owner's equity, right-clicking and copying. Put that in cell B18, right-clicking and pasting, 1, 2, 3. Going to indent that item, going to the Home tab, going to the Alignment group, and increasing the indentation. And there's our journal entry. Now this is a longer journal entry, so it could be a bit confusing to put together or look at if we're used to just having the two accounts. However, it's not too bad if you work with it a few times. We're going to go ahead and then post this. We journalized this journal entry for all the beginning balances, and now we're going to go through the process of posting from the general journal to the general ledger, which will then be used to automatically create the trial balance and the financial statements. So here's cash. That's what we're going to post first. It's going to be the first account on the trial balance. So it's the first account on the general ledger. We are debiting cash, and therefore we will debit it here as well in the general ledger in cell AM8. AM8, we're going to select equals and then point to that 25,000 and enter. Now the next items are going to be a little bit over, so we're going to do that freeze panes again. So I'm going to put my cursor up top here in AJ1. And then we're going to go to the View tab up top, View tab, and then go to the Windows group, and we will go to Freeze Panes within the Windows group, freezing those panes. Scrolling back down, we're then going to record the Furniture and Fixture. It's the last green account, the last asset account, so therefore it'll be the last asset account on the general ledger. Scrolling over, we have the asset accounts. Then it goes to the equity. It's going to be down here somewhere then. So it's way down here in the furniture and fixture. We want to be on the debit side. We can't quite see up here, so we could make this a little bit smaller if we want to see the whole thing. I could select this item and scroll up and see if we can see it. Not quite. So there it is. It's pretty close, not quite there yet. I want to get that 75,000. I'm going to have to scroll up just a little. So I'm in AU36. Going to select equals, scroll up a tab, and then select that 75,000 and enter. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger. So you will have to maneuver around the screen from time to time. That can be confusing at first, but in essence, if you put the journal entry exactly how we have it in the same cells, then it would be equal C15. Or if you deleted this, you can put equals C15. And you do want to use those formulas as much as possible. That number then will then populate over here in C15 or in Furniture and Fixtures. We're out of balance, of course, because we have not yet entered the rest of the journal entry, meaning we're out of balance by 25 plus 75 or 100 until we enter the credit 100 side. We are then on the Visa. Here's the Visa account. It's going to be the second orange account. We are in order on the trial balance, and the same order will be on the general ledger. So we're going to scroll over to the Visa account. We have the assets first. Scrolling over, we then have the liability accounts. Scrolling down to the Visa section, we're going to be in the credit side. We're in AZ23, AZ23 equals, and we're then going to point to that 1,000 in D16, enter. There's the 1,000 there. We scroll back to the trial balance. We see the 1,000 populate here. We're still out of balance. What are we out of balance by? We're out of balance by the 22 and the 77 or the 99,000. We're going to post this to the loan payable long-term portion. There's the loan payable long-term portion. It's going to be the last orange account or last liability account. Scrolling over, we see the assets, we see the liabilities, we see the liabilities ending. It must be down here somewhere. There it is. We're going to be in the credit side. Once again, it's off the screen, so I'm way down here in BD39. And if I scroll up, we need to take it from D17. So scrolling back down, we're in BD39 equals, scrolling back up, we're going to point to this D17 and then equals. Now that means that when you see all these little items here, it means that, or those are number signs or something, I believe, you want to widen the cell. So if you put your cursor right between the cell BD and BE, you'll widen the cell. We will probably have that fixed by the time you enter the data. But as you adjust this item down here too, you may run into problems where the cells aren't large enough, or if your screen size is a different size, then sometimes you'll have problems. But remember, it's not really a problem. You just widen the cell as needed to fix that issue. So then we're going to scroll back up and scroll back over. And we see that that item has been populated there. We are still out of balance, however, and note what we're calculating here is just the debits minus the credits. The debits minus the credits is out of balance by the 77. Debits minus the credits aren't in balance. They're not equal by the 77. That's going to be posted to the equity account. So the equity account is the blue account. It's in order: assets, liabilities, and then equity on both the trial balance and the general ledger. We're going to look through the general ledger, first starting with the assets, then the liabilities. Then we're looking for the equity account. There is the equity account that we need. We are in BH16, and we need a credit. So we're on the credit side. We're going to select equals and then point to that 77,000 and enter. That'll bring this balance up in the credit direction. That's a credit. We did the same thing to it, another credit, bringing the running balance to 85,373.97. That same number then will be brought over here automatically to the books in terms of the trial balance. So note then, what we did here is we just posted to the general ledger. The general ledger automatically populated the trial balance. We got the trial balance number there. Furniture and fixture we just added the Visa from here, and we just added the loan payable, and we put another amount to the owner's equity. So those are all being drawn here from the amounts that we just entered into the trial balance. This is the portion that will be automated. So when you're working with an accounting software, you're basically just entering this data, even minus this data, and the software is taking this information, guessing that this is the other account or some account similar, some equity account most likely being what it guesses that the other side should go to, and then it can automate the rest of the account, meaning it generates the general ledger, generates the trial balance, and populates the financial statements. The only thing we, the end users, often look at, however, will be the financial statement, unless there's a problem, and then we go backwards and find the general ledger, find the trial balance, try to figure out what is wrong. So in here, then, of course, these are being populated that we can do automatically to populate the financial statements. So this is going to the financial statement, the financial statement, the financial statement, and here as well. If we scroll over to the financials way over here, I'm just holding down the right arrow all the way to the financials. Populated automatically. That's how it could just work within the system. Same kind of idea within an accounting software like QuickBooks. And we're just saying there's the 25 here that's just being pulled over for cash. And there is the credit card. And if we sum up all of the assets, sums up to that. There's the furniture and fixture. It's in property, plant, and equipment. And then the current assets and the property, plant, and equipment sum up here to 123. And we see that this side sums up as well. There's the 15 accounts payable, the credit card, and then we have the loan payable at 22 and the equity, and that adds up here to the same 123. All this can be automated once we have that original data input, and knowing how the process works, however, will let us know that if there's a problem here, there's the 85,397 in equity in the statement of equity. If there's a problem, then that's when we basically do the quick zoom in accounting software, and we would go back into this data. So if there's a problem in the cash account, we'd go back into the cash account and take a look at this item. If our equity account looks funny, that has our most data right now, we would see it being posted by date of when it was posted and see what that activity is doing and what the problem is. So the general ledger is often needed for us when using accounting software, but we often use it in a reverse method, meaning we let the software calculate it and then we go back and check if there's an issue, if there's a question about a lot of items. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.